What is going on, everybody? Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are having a good one. Just trying to make sense of this slate right now. What is going to happen now is Javon Carter is going to pop in projections. He was actually my favorite. If he doesn't start, it'll lower his ownership and projection a little bit if a guy like Connaughton starts. I think both are really viable for GPPs, just to answer the quick Milwaukee news, because that's obviously a big piece of information. But I don't think you have to do anything here. I'm probably going to get to some Carter, and I'm probably going to get to a little bit of Connaughton, but more Carter for me. And then I think Giannis and Middleton are just a little bit better plays than they were before. Simple as that. The rest of the slate is pretty similar to how we had it earlier. Without Melton for Philadelphia, I think it makes Harden and Embiid better plays. I also think if Korkmaz starts, you could include him and maybe do like a weird build where you're playing a Carter and a Korkmaz to get cheap. On your, in terms of your other priority plays, I'm still on DraftKings trying to play these, this 6 to 7K range, which I like a lot. CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, Clay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Chris Paul. Like Mikal Bridges more on FanDuel because of his style of play. At a little bit of a lower tier, Torrey Craig, and then back in that same tier, Kevin Porter and Jalen Green. I do think it's worthwhile. And I'm definitely going to have a LeBron Tatum lineup and a LeBron Brown lineup. Probably. I do like LeBron tonight for what it's worth, but I'm not spending full the way up on DraftKings as much. And on FanDuel, it's really obvious to play Sabonis and Harden. I still think it's a pretty reasonable play. I'm going to need to make some changes as I go along because my normal lineup it fits well together, but I'm wondering how off the board it could be. And then I ended up trying to have a to cram a guy who I really didn't want to play in there. So I'm probably going to have to change that pretty soon, which that was PJ Tucker, who's just sort of like on my small slates, just like I use him as like a reserve spot kind of a thing. But on FanDuel, Javon Carter is a little less appealing at 4,600, but I think is still completely in play, as is Grayson Allen, who I probably would side with a little bit over Javon Carter over there. It's close, though, because Javon Carter is going to be on the court a lot. They want him to guard one of those three, awesome guards from Golden State. So I sort of see him playing more of a role than Grayson Allen unless Grayson Allen gets hot. But most of the plays are similar. Draymond's still a priority. Chris Paul's still a priority. Forget the 7,200. It doesn't matter to me whether it's 62 or 72. Torrey Craig, Mikal Bridges, guys that I'm going to be playing a ton of. I have a lot of Nance on DraftKings. I have a little bit of Jonas on FanDuel, and I feel nervous about it. But I think that we just have to sort of embrace it and know that every third or fourth game we're getting 40 plus here. And the rest of the time you're dead. Like 17 fantasy points or something like that. I still have the feeling that you might see somebody sit for Boston in so many games in so few days. But if Robert Williams comes back, maybe not. And he's projected to right now. So that's sort of where I'm at. So priority spend ups are not spending all the way up. I think Harden and Sabonis are my highest priced players in my main lineup on FanDuel. By the time the show is over and I set my lineup, it could easily be Giannis and Embiid or something like that. But right now, that's what I've got. I've got Poole as a little bit of a priority over Clay on FanDuel and a little bit of Clay over Poole on DraftKings just to balance it out a little bit. And again, I have a very hard time fading Chris Paul today. And I really like the Bridges, Paul, Craig, Jalen Green combination for tournaments on FanDuel. So pop in your questions, pop in your thoughts. We have no sheets today, so won't be as long of a show, won't be as in depth. Also, I need to set my lineups, and we're still waiting for information that we don't know what we're waiting for yet, which is just always the case, isn't it? I'm going to make sure to plug my phone in case, because that's how, for some reason, all of my computer alerts don't work all the time, and my phone alerts always seem to work. So just sitting here waiting for whatever information might come on us. But say what's up, talk about some of the things you like, some far-fetched plays that I'm throwing in. Oh, I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned, I like Jabari Smith a lot on DraftKings and FanDuel, but especially on DraftKings. DeAndre Ayton, priority on DraftKings, not so much on FanDuel. Larry Nance, priority on DraftKings, not so much on FanDuel. I think DiVincenzo is an interesting large field tournament play. I really do. I think there's a lot of there's a lot of speculative value today, and I think DiVincenzo, who's been getting run, is completely viable over there. So that's what I've got. I'm looking to see if I've got anything else that I can change here. Oh, maybe if I do Şengün instead of Jabari, and then I can play LeBron. Yeah, that actually works a little bit better. But yeah, I like LeBron. I'm afraid that his ownership, like I feel like we should be getting him at like 5% here, and it won't be 5%. I promise you that. But I do think that he's interesting. And I do like Şengün on the other side of Ayton too. I think you could play both those guys together. Players from New Orleans. I have nobody who's a priority except for I have a little bit of interest in Valanciunas. I do have Larry Nance as a priority. CJ McCollum would be my next guy. And then after that, it's Zion, Valanciunas, and no one. That's my 4. I like Zion. I've never said once today that I'm playing Zion, so it's not still like Zion. I never ever said that I'm going to be playing Zion today. I just don't see how they're going to cover him. But I've never suggested that I was going to play him. There's just other plays that make a little more sense to me when price is considered. LeBron being one of them. But I do like Zion, and it wouldn't surprise me if he went off. You're just asking for a guy to basically eclipse any number he's had this season, with the exception of games where both McCollum and Ingram were out, not just one of them. And he hasn't really done that with either one of those guys on the court yet. Now, could he tonight? Absolutely. But I just think there's other matchups to look after. But I do think that him low ownership is interesting. No Drew defense. I don't even consider, that's not even a real question to me. Sorry. Steph, I guess. I don't think about it like that. Drew's out. Steph, but I would never look at it like who benefits from not having Drew Holiday guarding them now. Like, it's just, yes, Steph is more likely to go nuts. Javon Carter is an awesome defender as well, by the way. And if he starts too, probably the guy who's going to benefit the most from all of this stuff is Jordan Poole. But Jordan Poole and Steph would be the answer. Clay, it's basically Clay. It's not like Drew was going to guard Clay anyway, except for off screen and pop action. So all right, keep popping in questions, any thoughts or anything. It's a very lack of value slate, which you can do 2 things. I'm going more for the middling-ish build with the minimal value that we do have. That's fairly obvious value. And then I also think there's a viable route for tournaments to go completely different and to try to force in, maybe Korkmaz and Javon Carter and Larry Nance, and then you can play 2 big spend ups at least. So that's completely viable as well. Yeah, I talked about Clay already. I like Poole better, but I like Clay as well. I just mentioned Ayton. Ayton at 7,200, one of the easiest plays on the slate on DraftKings. Don't like him as much on FanDuel. All the questions, it's like I should never start talking. I should just start playing the video because I do it 7 minutes in advance, so we have time to get everybody in. But everybody asked the questions that we just addressed, which is great. I like the questions of the back and forth. The problem is they're all the things I literally just finished saying, so I don't know if I can add on it anymore. But yeah, Ayton's like the obvious, like going to be 1,000,000% owned, and for good reason on DraftKings. Less owned on FanDuel, but still a good play. All right. No problem, Nick. It's just funny how it happens. It's like every time I'm done talking about something, it's like all the questions pop in about it. I'm like, my opinions are the same thing they were 5 minutes ago, but I'm happy to go through it again if there's people who want to go through it. I think it's a fun little slate because you can get different a lot of ways. All the spend ups have their own merit in their own right, and I don't have anyone rated that much ahead of anyone else. I do like James Harden with the solo ball handling responsibilities in the backcourt, which we haven't really seen much of this year. So I think that Harden would be my priority from that, in terms of pieces of news for spend ups. I also think you could make an argument for Embiid. And I honestly think that if you wanted to get, weird with it or whatever, I actually think Fox is a better play now. And I think that Sabonis, if you wanted to somehow find a way to get 3 of the 4, Fox, Sabonis, Harden, and Embiid, I think that's actually really viable for tournaments and like a little bit of a game stack there. I think it's kind of interesting. Game stack do I recommend? I just recommended it. Okay, Phoenix, the Rockets are the most obvious one. On DraftKings, Jabari and Şengün are both good run backs. I like Jabari a little bit better, point per dollar. And I think the same thing on FanDuel because I like Mikal Bridges. This is a night where my bold take is that Mikal Bridges has at least 2 steals and at least 2 blocks. And I think there's room for him to have like 5 and 4. Like, it's a really good steal and block matchup. I also think that benefits Torrey Craig, and I can play them with Chris Paul and throw Kevin Porter Jr. on the other side or Jalen Green and feel pretty good about it. So those would be the ones. In terms of on a 1v1 stack of just like star players, I think LeBron and Tatum or LeBron and Brown are probably my favorites outside of on FanDuel, James Harden and Sabonis. That's pretty much it. Bridges on DK is fine. I like him a little better on FanDuel, but I think he's fine on DraftKings. All right, let's see what else we got here, guys. Who else am I playing that maybe we haven't talked about, or who else do you have questions about? I'm going really. I'm not playing many lineups. I'm going really heavy on the lineups that I do have, where there's going to be a lot of Middleton, a lot of chalk, a lot of Middleton. I'll have Clay or Poole probably in every lineup. I'll have Draymond in mostly with them. I'll have some Jabari. I'll have some. I'm going to have a lot of LeBron on DraftKings and FanDuel. Actually, I've got some LeBron. I'm sort of interested in LeBron tonight. I'm interested to see what he does. I feel like this is a really important game, and I could see him taking 30 shots tonight. So I kind of like the idea of playing some LeBron here, unless AD goes off, which he very well could with the lack of Boston front line. That is the one other value. If you wanted to play the later games, I would try to include a thinnish borderline play because you might end up with some weird value that you don't know it's going to be there yet. Thanks a lot, Nick. Anyone from Sacramento other than Fox? Yeah, I think the most interesting is Sabonis is the top play, and then Fox I would have second. On FanDuel, on DraftKings, it's about even. What method? I don't understand the question about the method. I go through all my projections. I make a list of all the players I'm interested in. I try to reverse engineer by adding up a total of points and a total number of points that I think will win the slate. And then I figure out one that I feel the most comfortable with, where if players hit their ceilings, that could happen. And I try to think about game flow, potential stacks, 1v1s, players cutting into each other, things like that. It's a very broad question that probably would take about 3 hours to cover. But that's a quick rundown of the method I used to build my lineups. All right. What else have we got in here tonight? Looks like nothing else at the moment. Trying to see if there's any news that's broken. What do we have here? Nope, nothing really. Excuse me. Still not quite over it yet. It's so weird. I'm better, but not just can't quite get all the way better. Keep an eye out who starts for Philadelphia. Keep an eye out who starts for Milwaukee. Keep an eye out who starts for Boston, but unfortunately that game's just so much later. That's a tough one. LeBron or Harden? Straight up, the answer is Harden. I do like the LeBron angle. And in complete transparency, I've got a little more Harden than I do LeBron, but I have plenty of LeBron as well. Curry, Zion, or LeBron? If I had to bet on one, it would be LeBron or Curry. They're all good. That's a tough one. No, I think Curry has the Curry's upside gets there more often than Zion's does, and I think you're counting on probably one of those three has an upside night. Zion's probably the safest to get to 50. LeBron's probably the safest to get to 55. Curry's probably the safest to get to 60. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting tier. I think that I would probably end up probably with Curry, but only if you were getting off the board or something for your tiers, I would go with LeBron. I like DiVincenzo as well. Zion or LeBron? LeBron. But I think Zion is a good play. I just think LeBron. I'll take a narrative, an important game, a big time thing like that kind of stuff motivates me for LeBron. Whereas, I do think Zion has an incredible matchup tonight, but I'm going more with LeBron personally. It's all different, Jolly, every time. That's just a whole question. It sounds like you need a coaching session. We'll do a coaching session sometime because I can't do. I've taken down plenty of tournaments and they're always different, but it's not like random players. They all have a reason and a story. Make a story that makes sense with your lineup and make it make sense. You know what I mean? But like sometimes like the right answer is to stack 4 guys from a game from on one side and not put anybody on the other side. So it really is just slate dependent. I wouldn't put any calculations into that. That's just I think it's a bad way to play. I think each slate has to be looked at uniquely. So it's always going to be different. In general, trying to find run backs always makes sense. 6.2% of games go into overtime. Of games within 3 points or less, almost 9%. So you're talking about now you're getting to like close to 10% of games. That's a huge advantage. And you don't even need to go to overtime. You just want your guys playing down the stretch, really. The value plays on DraftKings. My favorite would be Larry Nance. The best projected. In fact, I'm kind of trying to figure out something out here. Did I miss something? I feel like Larry. Oh, that's on FanDuel. That's why it's not working. I'm like, why is Larry Nance not showing up here? On DraftKings, I think that Javon Carter is the obvious answer, so I'll say that. But I think Larry Nance is probably my favorite. I think he's being a little bit underprojected, and people could say, "Oh, it's chasing because he's only done the last few games." Well, they're in the middle of winning with these games like this, and why they would change it tonight in a perfect kind of Larry Nance matchup, I don't know. But I think Larry Nance is being drastically underlooked, under-owned, under everything tonight. And if people really want to play Kevon Looney over Larry Nance, then you're losing more in the long run than you're gaining, given the matchups and situations and everything. It's funny because Looney is looking really good projection-wise. Anytime that happens, I always say, well, let's try not to get the value. Like Looney can get there. He can get to 30. Like he can have a good game like he had against Boston the other night. But like you need just like so much to go weirdly right. Kuminga's going to play minutes. I think Kuminga's an interesting tournament play. Also, Looney's only center eligible. I just think it's a wrong play to do. I just don't think in general you're making a lot of money with guys like Kevon Looney. Let's see what else we got in here tonight. I'll probably be out of here in about 3 to 5 minutes. So pop on in anything else. Otherwise, we're waiting. I will be in Discord. You guys should make sure to be a part of our Discord if you're not already. A lot of good people in there, a lot of smart minds, a lot of good help. Keegan Murray is not popping at all for me tonight, but if you want to do it, I have no problem as a part of like a game stack or something, but I'm certainly not trying to play Keegan Murray, but I do like him and he's talented enough to where at low owned at 4,600, I'm not going to argue with on this slate. So if you like Keegan Murray, go ahead and play Keegan Murray tonight. That's completely viable in my opinion. You're counting on him making his threes. He's been on fire from 3. And he's an active player who's 4,600 who's going to have a chance. His minutes could easily be a lot shorter than he's being projected, but I do like Keegan Murray in general. I just think that I just don't happen to have any of him tonight personally. I'll tell you right now, I'll give you the play of the night tomorrow night. You know who it's going to be? Because Fox is going to sit. I promise this is what's going to happen. Terrence Davis going back to Toronto will be he'll be the highest scoring point per dollar play on the slate tomorrow night. That's my prediction. You know what? I hear what you're saying. I totally disagree, Jamie, but like, I actually think the young Rockets get plenty of minutes. Like Kevin Porter Jr. is playing between 32 and 45 minutes, like every game, every single game. Kevin Porter Jr. is averaging 33 minutes a game. That's plenty. You don't want any more than that. Jabari Smith is, lately well into the 30s per game, high 30s. Şengün is the only one who you could argue with that over, but they're playing Tari Eason, who's also young, a ton of minutes. So really having a stabilizing force like Gordon is probably something that helps these guys. Not to mention Gordon is a trade asset that they have that they will probably trade before the deadline. But Gordon is actually a decent enough player, and they're finally winning some games. These guys are learning how to play basketball. So I just completely disagree. I do understand the thinking in general. Play the young guys. But there are some older guys. If you plug one older guy in with 9 young guys who are playing around him, I actually think that's the right thing. I think you should actually have 2 more if you want to really grow the young guys. Okay. Almost done with my booch, and it's time to try and make some money on this slate and figure out the final things. Anything you guys want to say? Sheets is going to update his projection soon, see where that goes. But keep an eye out for Boston sitting somebody. I got a feeling, man. If it wasn't the Lakers, I know they would be. No, I do not think. I don't know what full run is. Brogdon played the most minutes of his season last night in a 20-point loss. I think there's a chance Brogdon doesn't play at all. And if he plays, I wouldn't bet on him going over 24 minutes or maybe 26. I see no reason why they would do that unless something weird happens. Like he comes in to start the fourth quarter after not playing the whole third, and they go on a 15-0 run down by 10, and then he stays on the court to close the game or something. That's the only way I see it happening. Brogdon doesn't really have a normal full run anyway. His minutes, I mean, he just, like I said, he just played 33 minutes on the 31 minutes on the back of 22 and 19. Played 32 before that, so I guess it was a second season high. 21 before that, 26, 22, 22, 22, 20, 23, 25. That's not enough run to play. But I do like Brogdon in this matchup. I just don't even know that he'll play at all. I really don't think he will. And if he does play, I just think he'll be limited. But I do think Boston might just at least show that they have all their players available tonight. I'm not sure what they're going to do, to be honest. It probably won't happen until after lock. Anyway, guys, appreciate all of you. I will be in Discord if there's any new questions that pop up, and I will try to answer them if you tag me. And good luck to everybody. Let's make some money. Time to get it rolling before the end of the year. End the year strong, and then have a good bankroll going into next year. That's where we're at. All right. Good luck, everybody.